Hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're a little late on this one, but it's Q&A video. We've been loving these, and I just totally spaced to do one before we hit the weekend. So a little bit behind, so not really a Q&A Monday, but we'll get back to it. Asked some questions and prompted a couple things, both from previous videos and everything else. We got people in chat hanging out. We're gonna jump straight into these. First one comes out and says, hey, what's your opinion on the turning left or right immediately after being demoed and before your respawn? For those that don't know, and this is actually something that has happened and has been showcased in a Sunless video as mentioned in this comment. Basically what happened in the RLCS at one of the events, one of the players got demoed. I'm pretty sure it was Rise, and he held a direction immediately upon respawn. For those that don't know, when you actually get demoed, it is the only random element of Rocket League. There is no other version of randomness in the game. Everything else can be controlled in a physics-based engine, but which side you respawn on is completely random. And the thing is when you respawn, there is a slight delay between you landing on the ground and then you can go. And when you hold a direction, it allows you to basically preemptively be turning towards the direction towards net or otherwise. And this was actually used at a major when I'm pretty sure it was Rise. Got demoed, he respawned back left, and he guessed that he needed to turn right towards the goal, which that split second was enough for him to make a miraculous save. It was actually incredible. It is something that can give you a little bit of a heads up, and something that honestly people should work into their gameplay, because you either are allowed to get to the goal quicker or get to the boost a little bit quicker. So it doesn't necessarily hurt. Big recommendation though, if you are getting demoed and you are about to respawn, hold the direction, you'll get there a little bit quicker. It's not the worst thing. Do I think there is a single Rocket League org that is in the green? Of course, that includes orgs that are in many esports like Energy, K Corp, Team Liquid, so on and so forth. And I do think there's a few organizations that are in the green, or if not in the green, breaking even, which in esports isn't necessarily a bad thing. Realistically, if you're an esports org and you're in multiple titles between Rocket League, Valorant, League of Legends, Call of Duty, so on and so forth, because the reality is if you can pay for all your staff, all your players, the talent, all the projects that you're working on, so on and so forth, your brand is still increasing, and your namesake and your notoriety and all that stuff, the marketing purposes, are all benefiting from that. And then how you leverage that to secure something like a partnership deal or something on that to alleviate some of that financial burden. Like realistically, all these organizations are working really, really hard to build something of value, whether it be a business that they own that is then being self-promoted by their organization, or the organization itself gets to the point. Like FaZe Clan is doing this a lot. Currently, after their whole reacquirement and stuff like that with banks, after they left the Game Square kind of branding and got bought back, Complexity, same situation. Or maybe it's the other way. FaZe Clan is still with Game Square. Complexity got bought back by Jason Lake. But realistically, that money that is being spent, if you have a title partnership, for example, like G2's Stride, G2 may have the money to pay for based upon the revenue that they earned through merch and ad revenue and so on and so forth. But like, having Stride come in as a title partnership because of the namesake and the notoriety and the success they have now immediately alleviates that financial burden. And now they can take that money and allocate it into something else, whether it be paying staff or so on and so forth. So there's some cool things like that, but there is definitely some organizations. Big shout outs to G2. Team Liquid focuses a lot on success and operates very intelligently. They're cutthroat as hell, but by being cutthroat, they also alleviate a lot of the financial burden that a lot of the other teams just deal with. Case in point, we just saw the M80 thing. If you guys want to see a long form video on M80, the rise and fall, let me know in the comments down below, because we're about to rip that org apart. Outside of that though, yeah, there's a couple orgs out there that are very successful and ones that are trying to trend to be more intelligent. Energy does a really good job with some of their partners where they leverage their creators to bring in some pretty big sponsorship deals. They also throw away a lot of money on creators that they should probably let go that aren't valuable. Nobody's perfect, but yeah, there's definitely some orgs out there that are definitely both in the green or breaking even and coming in at a wash, which is good. Why does a player like Astral not get the looks that I'm used to? Astral kind of got tainted because of his mentality and pros talk. Like at the end of the day, some people don't like associating with Astral because he is, as a teammate, takes things very seriously and is a little bit more aggressive, even though I think he's a super chill dude and just cares and hasn't really been fostered in a way to have the support that he needs to be successful. He's got a different style in the way that he approaches the game. He doesn't want to be talkative and animated. He just wants to hard focus on his game. And in a game like Rocket League, many people prefer communication. rightfully so. Knowledge is power. So I think that's part of it. Even though he is so good on LAN and has proven to be one of those competitors, it's kind of one of those where you get a stigma surrounding you, and from there, you just don't really get the opportunities. So it's kind of problematic. Who is the person to know at an esports org? The type of person who knows everyone. Usually it is your COO, your chief operating officer, because they have their hands in literally every single different department they're there to oversee. They're also second in command of the company, but it varies. You know, it depends on, like, I think putting all your eggs in one basket is never a good idea. And when you want to talk to people within an organization, it's good to educate yourself about the ins and outs of everything. I like talking to entry-level positions because they keep it very real. They're very transparent. High-level positions are going to give you, again, exactly high-level conversation, kind of seeing the vision in the future. So I don't think there's ever one person you should just know. But the reality is like, if you're interested in an organization and you're trying to figure out more, do your homework, research, talk to anybody, so on and so forth. What person, org, anything has had the biggest impact on shaping RLCS as we know today? Honestly, the number one person is probably either Gibbs, believe it or not, or there's a lot of conversations around the Mount Rushmore of Rocket League, and there's a lot of individuals that have had very big impacts on making Rocket League what it is today. Like, real talk, if it wasn't for Gibbs, we wouldn't have ranked in Rocket League, and without ranked, you can't have a competitive scene. Gibbs, as a SARP veteran, advocated heavily for needing ranked. Like, Rocket League wasn't supposed to have a ranked system. They didn't want to put it in. They wanted it to be a casual sit with your buddies, couch co-op, Smash Bros type game. And Gibbs advocated heavily for having a ranked system because they wanted to remove it. And he's like, no, you have to have it for this game. So it's like, without Gibbs, you don't have that. Without Cloud Fuel, who is like, he was like our Roger Goodell. He was basically our commissioner when RLCS was first kind of coming up. He basically championed all competitive things Rocket League and like tournament systems and stuff like that. He was the go-to guy to make everything happen. Cloud Fuel was absolutely massive. There was some like underrated people like Uhtred who like funded pros to have PCs so they could start streaming and getting their names out there. Like, there is some people out there that people don't really know about that just extremely impactful for making Rocket League what it is today. For Rocket League, do you see yourself as a coach for a team or the manager? Ironically enough, caster. For RLCS, if I was to see myself as anything first, probably a commentator, because that's what I did for 8 seasons and still actively do commentary when I can. But lately, obviously, I've been doing a lot of operations and logistical work. I think I still have a great mind for the game and could coach or manage, either or, whatever the position is. The difficulty is pros usually put more value into coaches for players that are former RLCS competitors or have won events, so on and so forth. Like Torment with OG is a prime example. Torment's always going to get a nod instead of myself because Torment has been there, done that. So I would assume, like, if I was to ever get a position with a team, it'd be a manager. But yeah, caster first, then probably manager. Although I would love to coach. I would love the opportunity to take some untapped potential talent and really make a run. I think we could do some really cool things. I think a prime example, not that I'm comparing myself and that we're totally different people, Achieves. I think Achieves has proven that commentators who have an understanding of the game, that literally analyze the game all day, every day, have a pretty good understanding of how the game should be played. And Achieves proved that. I think that roster did really good things with Pirates on a Boat, top 8 consistent, and then as soon as Achieves was no longer there, they didn't do as good. So that's kind of crazy. I think it's very telling. Shout outs to Achieves, by the way. Much love to that guy. Someone asks, if I could give one pro a second chance at their rookie year, who would it be? That's a really tough question because my brain goes back to the OG days of when I was casting for VVV and doing like community tournament stuff. And there was actually quite a few pros that I think the difficulty when Rocket League first started, when we're talking like 2015, early 2016, before RLCS was even a thing, there was a lot of really, really good players. And the thing is many of them never made it into the kind of the next step of RLCS Pro because they either A, valued their friendships too much, like they couldn't make the tough business decision early on in Rocket League to say, hey, I have opportunities to play with people better, and the difficulty is I am choosing to play with my friends. And if they would have made the business decision to say, hey man, the reality is, like, as much as I love you, this is going to give me more success, and be a little bit more selfish, which in this industry you kind of have to be, which is tough to say. There is so many players out there. Vifele, who was like the super sub, if he would have committed, would have been goated. You've got Husky, Covenal, Andy. You've got, or a different Andy, not the Andy that you guys know on Dignitas, or former Dignitas, who's now on Moist or whatever. Flo, a lot of those guys had that it factor that could have just went for the stars if they would have done a couple different things. Who would be, in your eye, one of, if not the best coach? And I've seen this conversation as well on the subreddit, and if you guys want a dedicated video for this, let me know in the comments. But there's been a conversation of, like, who are the best coaches, who are the top 5 coaches, and there's been a lot of conversation around who or what that may be. People talk about Sathu, Eversack, Seth Jr., Farah, Chrome. Like, there's a bunch of different names out there, and I think the difficulty is, like, what do coaches do in Rocket League? Can anyone tell me specifically, as a blanket statement, what coaches do? And the difficulty is every team's different. Every player has different needs. Every team identity, whatever it is. Do you need someone who's a bit of more of a motivator? Do you need someone who's more analytical? Do you need... And the difficulty with Rocket League is because our kids are so young, coaches can't just be coaches. They are also mentors. They are there to guide these young children into adulthood of, like, these are how you carry yourself. This is the stuff you shouldn't be... Like, they have to basically micromanage these kids' lives at the same time. They have to educate them on the importance of making content. And, like, they are lifestyle coaches as well as in-game coaches, as well as analytical coaches. And the difficulty is a lot of organizations don't spend the money to properly support it, which is really, really unfortunate. With that in mind, I think when you try to find who the best coaches are, some of it is happenstance, but I think you have to look at coaches that have been around for a very long time and pairing that with, like, objective results. Sathu, I think, gets a lot of love. How much of that is because of how good of the players he's coaching are? Take that for what it is. But I think Sathu has a great demeanor. I think he's well respected. I think the results speak for themselves. At the end of the day, you got to find ways to win. Everybody's gunning for beating G2, but G2 objectively has not made worse than top 2. So I think Sathu gets a lot of love. A lot of people have been dogging on Chrome because of the Gen G thing, but, like, let's call it what it is. Chrome's first event with Gen G, they won. And then, yes, they had some struggles, and the struggles are there because he's trying to adjust to make them a better playstyle. And you can't tell me that Gen G doesn't look better at the most recent major than what they've looked previously. Like, Gen G looked like a real contender finally again. It takes time to develop. Chrome was also part of that NRG run when they went undefeated, and then Sizz came in at the tail end. Sizz has stated that, you know, he didn't really do replay analysis. He was there for just vibes and making sure mental and stuff was good. So, like, playstyle and intrinsic capability was from Chrome. Mental was there for Sizz. Together, they made a really good NRG team that won Worlds for the first time after trying to do it for 8 seasons. So, like, Chrome gets a lot of love for that. I think Xperi and what he's done with young, talented players, between finding Oski and Atao and the scouting and the belief they had with that. You know, there's Farah. You can't deny what he did with Vitality. Like, there is some really good coaches out there. I will counter that and say there's a lot of nepotism, a lot of friend hires, a lot of useless people that are just collecting a paycheck. And that's been going on for a very long time. So you got people hiring their friends. You got people that just aren't qualified, people that have never coached before. And I will say both double kind of counter argument to that. You can take a coach that is new, a coach that is a former pro, so on and so forth, that has no business in coaching. They have no coaching acumen. They have never coached or managed a team. They have no idea what they're doing. That doesn't mean they can't learn. It takes time to identify what it is that this team needs. And every team's different. Every player is going to have different requirements and desires, and how they respond to criticism, and like that stuff takes time. So I think it's very difficult to point out who the best coach is. I think it is much easier to say that coach stinks. And I think results speak for themselves. So with that in mind, if you guys enjoy the Q&A videos, as always, leave me questions down below. I love answering these. They're always fun to pick your guys' brains and stuff. We also do this live on stream pretty much every day. So come hang out with us, twitch.tv/Lawler. And while you guys are here, as always, comments down below, like, subscribe, notifications. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.